call this meeting to order.
Your microphone's on.
It is on.
That little button on the bottom, yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, she said leave them where they were. Okay, it's 6:01. This meeting comes to order.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's take call to order. Let's take a roll call for who's present. We identify Commissioner Eggers, Gibson's, Commissioner Eglund, and Rodriguez, and Navarro not present. Thank you. With that, Madam Chair, did you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Mr. Eggers, would you do the honors, please?
Love to. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, I'm sorry, I believe I might have been a little remiss. Do we need to share with the public some of the opportunities to participate in this meeting remotely? Thank you.
If you guys are talking, I just want to know, I can't hear anything on my end.
Likewise. Devin, perhaps you could unmute your channel?
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Turn the speaker mic off.
The San Benito County Planning Commission welcomes your comments. Each individual speaker will be limited to a presentation total of 3 minutes. If participating on Zoom, select the Participants tab and click the Raise Hand icon. If you're using a phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. When your turn arrives, you will hear that you have been unmuted. At this time, state your first name, last name, and county you reside in for the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How shall we proceed at this beginning meeting for the Planning Commission for 2021?
Well, thank you very much. This is a very special meeting. We have new commissioners that will be taking seats this evening, and they'll be sworn in promptly and shortly here. But I did want to offer the board, the Planning Commission, commissioners that are moving on, that have given such great service to this community, if you wanted a moment or two to say something before we change the guard.
Thank you. I think it's a very good idea. Public, we have comments from our commissioners.
Sure, I'll begin. So this is Commissioner Eggers. I just want to say it's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with the Planning Commission these last 2 years. I've been a resident here of Hollister since 1999, and local person. I grew up in Gilroy, and to be able to participate in the Planning Commission and to work with so many fine people on the commission, like I said, it's been a privilege, and I learned a lot, and look forward to continue to participate as I can going forward with the Planning Department.
Thank you. Commissioner Gibson.
No comment.
What is it?
Other than it was a pleasure to work with all of you.
I will defer to Commissioner Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez. I grew up here in San Benito County since I was 8 years old. That was quite a few years back. I really enjoy working with the planning department. This last go about is probably one of the best that I've experienced. I've been in the Planning Commission for 8 years, and I've enjoyed and I learned so much. And I encourage anybody who wants to learn more about our community to start at this level, and it's very, very a learning experience for me. So I want to thank everybody, all the staff of the great job they're doing. And like I said, this is one of the best planning departments that we had in a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Commissioner. And retiring out of being on the commission. I was telling someone recently that it is very unsettling. It's kind of like I feel untethered because you have all brought me so close to the core of the county that it's now kind of like an experience of looking at the whole county, not just San Juan Bautista, not just Highway 101, not just the pinnacles, but to really absorb the feeling of the whole county and the concerns of all the districts, and to work with the Planning Commission, work with the planners, and to go to the learning experiences of the American Planning Commission, Planning Association. Those were wonderful, wonderful experiences that I look forward to all the new commissioners having a possibility of learning more about how we are positioned in the state as well as the country. So, yeah, I very much appreciated the opportunity and to work with great people. Thank you, Devin, for that opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure for me to serve you and bring you information, and it's been wonderful. So with that, I know we do need public comment at one point, but I'm wondering if we do that with the newly seated commissioners.
Correct.
With that, so with that, why don't we move on to the kind of the second part of the roll call, which is our clerk of the board swearing in our brand-new planning commissioners that have been appointed by the Board of Supervisors.
We have 2 online.
We have 2 online, we have 3 in the gallery, and what would be great is if we could get a camera shot. So I can rotate this computer.
If we could have the commissioners that are present line up in the front, that are going to be sworn in.
Right up here and then facing.
When I saw your son standing there, I thought, yeah.
Oh.
There's something wrong.
Have Julio
Don't-
and Devin online.
You're gonna get a camera. Why don't you do it with your phone and then just
If,
post it?
Jennifer, if you would grab the mic yourself and switch positions with the commissioners, we could get a good camera shot.
You guys turn this way and it says, okay.
Yeah, we could do that.
We missed somebody. Oh, Gibson.
He doesn't need to be sworn, he's already sworn.
That's correct, guy.
Okay. If you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, if you could please state your name.
I, Julio Rodriguez,
Did we get your name, Devin?
I, Devin Mack,
Do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
All together.
do solemnly affirm and swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the state of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and the state of California and
California.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
All enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith
I will bear
That I-
true faith
faith,
and alliance to the Constitution of the United States
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
in the United States
and the Constitution of the state of California,
and the Constitution of the state of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
of divination
and that I will and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the position on which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, you have been sworn in.
Thank you.
Did we just lose a quorum?
For those working remotely, we'll have you sign some forms and certificates with the clerk of the board once you've come back by administration. So with that, let's have a changing of seats.
The two are up there,
Yeah, I know.
two here, and you.
Oh, that's true, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
you forgot yourself.
yeah. I don't know how that happened. All those newbies. Young man. Thank you.
Wow, Robert, you have been great to work with, and I have confidence in your son. Oh, yeah. I'm interested in seeing what's going on with the housing thing today. That's-
Oh, yeah, yeah, just the beginning, just the beginning.
Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Dulce. Not until, thank you.
Thank you, Dulce.
And just for empty seats and without assignment, we will lay these name tags here. Thank you so much, Commissioners. We're kind of flying by wire here a little bit. Did either of you wish to announce the district that you're serving and say a few words about yourselves? And it's kind of a roll call here, and then we will go into the orders of business, which is choosing a chair.
Public comment?
And we will, yep, maybe at this point, exactly, before we go that, we'll entertain public comment. So if I could ask if we have anybody in the internet world that wishes to speak on a matter not on the agenda this evening? Thank you very much. If I can help facilitate, public comment is now closed.
Yep, it looks like there's someone
Oh.
in the audience.
Excuse me, but we do have someone in the gallery. Public comment is not closed. Thank you.
I have some bad news. Our LAFCO director, Bill Nicholson, lost his wife last Friday. I was informed yesterday. Didn't really know what to say, but sent him my condolences. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Betancourt.
We actually have one that raised their hand.
Thank you very much. Would we please recognize the speaker?
Yes. Colin Kosmicki, can you please state your first name, your last name, and the county you reside in for the record? You are now unmuted.
Hi, this is Colin Kosmicki. I'm a San Juan Bautista area resident, supervisor in District 2, and I just wanted to publicly say thank you to all the outgoing planning commissioners. It's truly a selfless service that they have done for the community. And on that same note, I just want to say congratulations to all the new planning commissioners. I just, really appreciate your willingness to serve our community. And I know you all do well and work great as a team, and just big congratulations to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you.
No more public comment.
almost like an echo in a canyon. You need to take just a little pause to see if someone has raised their hand to speak through the computer. So thank you very much. Just for a moment, Commissioners, let's go district by district, starting with District 1. Robert Rodriguez, would you like to say hello to the community?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Robert Rodriguez. I reside in District 1. I've been a resident here since I was born. Family's been here for a very long time. I really enjoy, being a part of the community, and this is when I was offered this position, I was definitely excited to learn more about how planning works, and that's why I just wanted to kind of get more general knowledge on how this whole system works and take a better look and hopefully do well by being on this board. And I look forward to working with everyone else that's on here. And hopefully we don't confuse too many people with 3 Roberts again on the board. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. District 2, Julio Rodriguez, would you like to share an introduction?
Hello, Julio Rodriguez here. I hear him, go by that. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I'll be representing District 2, my constituents. Just wanted to, like I said, thank you for the opportunity, and I will absolutely give this 100% and do my best, and I really look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. District 3 being represented by new Commissioner Robert Scagliotti.
Yes, a third-generation farmer in the community, as born and raised here. I'm looking forward to helping the community move forward on planning and stuff, and I appreciate that Peter Hernandez gave me a chance to serve my community. Thank you.
Thank you. And returning to District 4 representation, Robert Gibson.
Hi, Robert Gibson. I'm continuing on. This is my 3rd year of my 4-year term.
And last but not least, we have District 5 Representative Devin Pack.
Hello there. My name is Devin Pack, he, him. I'm representing District 5. Born in Hollister, long-time resident since 2012, 4th-generation farmer. Also, I have a law degree, and I've been previously working in property law for firms involved in property law matters, and I'm hoping to be of service to my community and looking forward to the opportunity of working with all of you.
Well, thank you all so much for your introductions, and with that, we'll have less speaking by me, and we'll be directing business through the chair. And so with that, with 5 commissioners present virtually and in person, could we entertain a nomination for Chair of the Planning Commission?
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Commissioner Gibson as chair.
I would like to second that nomination.
There's a motion, there's a second to nominate Robert Gibson as Commissioner of Planning Chair for the Planning Commission. Would you take a vote, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. New Planning Commissioner, Planning Chair. I'm sorry, I'm kind of new to this too. Robert Gibson, thank you very much. And we can turn it right to you or to conduct the nominations for Vice Chair, please. Oh, did you accept?
Yes. To adjust the chairs. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, we got to fix the chair.
Is there a nomination for vice chair? If not, I will nominate Commissioner Rodriguez. Robert.
I second that.
Oh, yeah. Julio. Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a motion and a second to nominate Robert Rodriguez II for Vice Chair of the Planning Commission.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
We skipped the acknowledgement of certificate of posting.
Let's get it done.
Could we follow up with that?
Yeah, I never really quite know what to do with that. It has been done. It's in your packet here, and it was done in a timely manner.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of a consent calendar motion.
Yeah.
But it's a special agenda this evening.
Okay. And then on to item 5, confirmation of the meeting calendar.
Yes, thank you. I can present that. The Planning Commission is generally met on the third Wednesday of each month, and those numbers are before you now, beginning with February 17th and ending with December 15th. As business trends happen or different situations, there may be need for additional meetings in between, as you've experienced last year, where we would notice for special meetings. But this would be the regular pace of the Planning Commission calendar. And generally, there's an awkwardness around November and December with the national holidays. Doesn't appear to be the case this time.
Is that an action item or discussion?
If it's acceptable to the majority of the board without need for, I didn't know if someone was traveling out of country, if we could even do
Good.
that these days.
Good.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, if you would
Motion would be
entertain a
in order.
motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve item 5 on the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
I will.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approved. Item number 6. Does the principal planner have a report on the status and conventions in place to implement roadway improvements or other deferred planning improvements?
Mr. RMA Director, if I could for a moment, I'd like to offer just a moment to the RMA Director who wanted to make an announcement regarding the department. Just a moment.
Absolutely.
Not related to this item.
Yeah, that's correct.
I wanted to add my voice. My name is Benito. I'm the relatively new Resource Management Agency Director here in San Benito County. I've been here since mid-October. And I wanted to also add my voice to thank the outgoing commissioners and offer my condolences to LAFCO Commissioner Betancourt. She related the loss associated with Robert, the LAFCO Commissioner for this area. I also wanted to welcome you, the new commissioners, and thank you for your service. I think it's a valuable commitment. And it's important to us as an agency and to our planning department to have citizens involved, and thank you for your selfless service in that regard. And I just had one quick announcement. The planning department here is in need of additional staff resources, and one of the things that we have managed to do in my first 90 days is hire a new assistant director for planning and building. His name is Brian Swanson. He will join the Resource Management Agency next Monday. And then he or I will always regularly attend the commission meetings with other planning staff, including our principal planner, Devin, Kimson Brown. But I wanted to make you aware of the fact that he will be joining our staff. Brian Swanson, he's had about 5 years with the city of Hollister and done a good job for them, and has about 15 years in community development and economic development. So he'll be joining the team in the RMA starting Monday, February 1st, and we're really excited to have him joining the team. And I think you will enjoy working with Brian. Those of you who already know him probably realize that. Those of you who don't will soon realize what a joy he is to work with.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you. And through the chair, shall I continue?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I was asked to bring back a little status report of, on some of the projects that the Planning Commission has approved in the past, that certain projects were allowed to have deferred improvements, which is basically install things later. And there was a handful of items that former Commissioner Rodriguez was concerned of, and just wanted to know the status of. So I have about 3 I'd like to report on. These are not action items. These are just kind of recapturing what the Planning Commission approved and the status, what's in the ground. So one involved a minor subdivision off of Buena Vista Road. Other is a use permit for the Seventh-day Adventist School on McCloskey. And the other was subdivision improvements proposed by Mr. Gordon Wynn. So those 3 items. Regarding the subdivision improvements, it's off of Buena Vista Drive. There was a property that had a solar farm in the back and a subdivision lot split in the front. And the roadway of Buena Vista Drive had not been completed in front of that property. And so the condition the Planning Commission had was roadway improvements. Prior to recordation of the parcel map, the applicant shall bond for or make the following roadway improvements: half of the 64-foot pavement on a 66-foot road bed with standard curb, gutter, and sidewalks built to City of Hollister standards along the entire property frontage of Buena Vista Road. So, to let you know, is a bond was submitted and is available for use toward those said improvements performed as a public project. So we have a financial security if we needed to get it done ourselves. But one of the practices that we can do is to give them a call, give them opportunity to install that themselves and get it done. Should it be a priority now for public safety or other determinations of the city and county engineer. So that's the status. We've got the ability to see that that gets finished and followed through. Second was use permit for the Hollister Seventh-day Adventist School. They were allowed under condition 7 to make or enter into deferred improvement agreements. Deferred improvement that will be reviewed after a school year, the following roadway improvements. Again, it was for a half street, 64-foot curb, gutter, sidewalk, detached sidewalk along the frontage of the property on McCloskey Road. The report from the RMA Planning Department says the deferment agreement is in effect and the reviews of the requirements may take place as needed. The conditions review did not happen at the conclusion of the first school year. However, the agreement may be exercised when a need arises, such as if deterioration of traffic conditions or new nearby development leaves the school property frontage as the last unimproved segment among its neighbors. So there's discussion we'll need to have back at RMA on whether whether the time is ripe to insist on these improvements regarding the dedication of the right-of-way and those improvements. And condition number 8 says the applicant shall bond for or make the following roadway improvements. And says B is completely improve the 28-foot road surface with standard curb, gutter, and detached sidewalk along the property frontage on Isabel Lane up to the southern entrance. And the report is the actual construction resulted in a 26-foot road surface, not 28 feet. Expansion to 28 feet would have prohibitively required relocation of a line of utility poles along Isabel Lane. So the discussion with the RMA management, it was taking place if we need to bring the project back, but a modification was allowed in the field to avoid those trees. And lastly, that I have here, was a minor subdivision, the Gordon Wynn subdivision, and it was regarding frontage improvements. It states, prior to the recordation of the parcel map, the applicant shall bond or improve half of Santa Ana Valley Road to build half of 38 feet of pavement width and 5 feet shoulder along property frontage. Our response is the county accepted an improvement plan showing road widening on Santa Ana Valley Road east of its curve. This was constructed. The abrupt curve remains, however, because realignment to a gentler curve would have required removing possibly 7 trees. Therefore, improvements neither were proposed nor took place at the curve and to its west, but the right-of-way for a gentler curve remains available to the county for later realignment. Condition number 17 on the same project said roadway development. Prior to the recordation of the parcel map, the applicant shall bond or improve the common driveway with 16 feet of pavement on 20 feet of roadbed that terminates to a 40-foot paved radius as a turnaround facility as shown on the tentative map. This was constructed as Tortola Way, so that was followed through. And those are the items I have right now, and if we've missed or some of the intent of the former commissioner wanting us to follow up, I can still dig that out. But what I've shared with you today is different than projects that have been approved that just haven't been acted upon. Right? You've approved nurseries and other types of commercial developments where folks just haven't come forward to do things. This was where folks have invested in their property, were allowed to wait or defer some improvements, and it was report on how we can assure that they get fixed and implemented in the field. So that's my long and wordy, small director's report.
Thank you for the information, and
Is that it's not a public comment item, is it? I don't think so. I don't know.
okay. Then discussion, special agenda item number 7, zoning ordinance update report and presentation.
Yeah, thank you. That's the main item du jour this evening. Miss Ariel Goodspeed, are you with the microphone? Did you care to introduce the county's consultant? Oh, your microphone, please.
Hi, good evening. Ariel Goodspeed, planner with the county. I'd like to introduce Eric Norris. He is our consultant with Interwest, and he is going to be presenting this item tonight.
Well, thank you, Ariel, and I apologize if I'm not quite up to speed. We lost power last night, so I'm doing this on my iPad. So making Zoom meetings just even a little bit more fun, but thank you for the introduction. I'm going to try and share my screen here. Now, Ariel, if this doesn't work, if you can run the show from there, but let's see if this will work. Let's see. Start. Now, can you see my screen here with the PowerPoint show?
Yes.
Okay. Don't do that. And let's do our show. Great. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, members of the commission. Again, Eric Norris with Interwest, and thank you for having us here. This is the first of a number of times that you're going to see us talking to you about the zoning code update over the next year. We plan to get this project done by the end of 2021, but we wanted to come to you tonight just to tell you a little bit about what we're doing, kind of where we are and where we plan to go, and also to kind of touch on the basic framework of what we're trying to do with the update to the code. So we're going to talk tonight about why we're doing the updates, talk to you a little bit about what the zoning code is and what's in it, the things we're looking at in zoning code updates, and a project timeline, and some next steps. So first of all, why update the zoning code? Well, first of all, the code was last comprehensively updated in 1984. So Ronald Reagan was the president then, and you can imagine that things have changed a little bit. And as slowly as planning adapts, sometimes it has adapted over the last almost 40 years. So it's about time to update the code. Actually, if you go a little bit farther back, the last time it was comprehensively updated before 1984 was 1966. So we haven't even gone to the moon yet. So what we're trying to do today to bring everything up to speed is to do a few things. One is to make the code a lot more clear, a lot more concise, easier to use, easier to read, easier to figure out. We've come a long way, I think, in the way we graphically present documents since the 60s and the 80s, so we're going to bring the document up into the 21st century. We also have a new 2015, well, not entirely new, but a relatively new 2015 general plan that has a number of programs in it that need to be implemented through the zoning code that just haven't been done yet, so we're going to do that. We're going to modernize land uses and regulations. There's a number of things in the code that don't really reflect the modern status of how we deal with a number of issues. So we're going to bring those up to speed. A number of changes in state law that we need to reflect. The state has been very active over the last few years, particularly in the arena of housing. So there are a number of things we need to do in the code to bring it up to speed with state law. And another thing that staff was very important to the board and the county was streamline the development review process and to make it easy to get a project through the process there at the county. And what we found, and we've talked with staff a number of times, is often a practice or a procedure gets put in place at some point in the past, and then it just kind of becomes part of the regular way of doing business. And what we've been asked to do is to look at a number of those processes and say, well, do we still really need to do that, or can we replace that with an easier process to make it easier for businesses to succeed, for people to be able to do their development projects, improve their properties, or just go about their regular business. So a little bit about zoning. I won't spend a whole lot of time here, but I do have some new commission members. But from the beginning, the zoning code is intended to implement the general plan. The general plan is a policy document that sets out the long-term vision for the county. The zoning code is the book of regulations that takes that kind of vision and puts it into form with detailed development regulations. Zoning is intended to maintain property values by promoting orderly growth, by making sure that if you have two uses next to each other, that they aren't going to negatively affect one another, that everybody remains a good neighbor in the county. We're trying to keep out undesirable land uses. That's why you'll see when you open up any zoning code, you look at a particular zone, there's a list of things you could do in that zone. There's a list of things that you can't do in that zone. So that's part of what zoning does. And actually, if you go back to the very beginning of zoning over 100 years ago, that's basically what the first zoning code did. Was it said, here are land use districts, and you can do housing here, you can do commercial here, and so on. That was a groundbreaking idea. It actually got sued and taken to the Supreme Court, ultimately upheld, but that was one of the bases of zoning in the first place. And finally, it establishes uniform regulations for all similarly zoned land. So if I have a piece of R1 land in one part of the county, the rules are the same as for another piece of R1 land anywhere else in the county. So what's in the zoning code? Well, basically, there are the zoning districts, the residential, commercial, agricultural, et cetera, for different land use types. There are allowable land uses within those districts, so whether it's residential, commercial, et cetera, what you can do in those districts, what is either permitted, what is conditionally permitted, which is something that would come to this planning commission for issuance of a permit with conditions to ensure that its operation doesn't negatively affect properties around it. And then finally, things that are prohibited, things that you don't want to see happen in different parts of the county. There are development and design standards, which are things as simple as setbacks and height limits, up to design standards that talk about more aesthetic impacts of a project or aspects of a project. There are specific use standards for a number of uses, everything in your current code from drive-throughs to pet shops that talk about how those things need to be operated. And again, the overall intent there is whatever that land use is, we're trying to make sure that we have clear rules that are followed in the operation of it to make sure that, again, it doesn't negatively affect what's going on around it. And finally, there are those administration and review procedures, which I just mentioned, we're going to take a very careful look at that define how projects are reviewed and approved, how they go through the process, who has the ability, whether it's staff, the planning commissioners, or the board of supervisors, to approve different kinds of projects. So what we're aiming to do for San Benito County is, first of all, to reorganize, modernize, and simplify, illustrate the code with the general intent of making things easier to follow. We've been meeting weekly with your staff, and I'll just give a shout out to Devin and his staff, Ariel, Jamila, Mike Kelly. They've been great to work with. It's been just a joy to have a staff who came to us with what we often have to ask them for, which is, tell us what you found that you'd like to fix in the code. So we've had a number of really good discussions with them. We talk with them every week to go over issues that come up, but just a shout out to them on how helpful they've been in this process. But one thing that we found when we started looking through this code is it, again, kind of reflecting the fact that it hasn't been really comprehensively updated for a long time. There are a lot of things in your code that are just very hard to find. If you know where they are, it's great, but we kind of liken it to going up in your grandmother's attic and looking for something. If you know where it is, it's great, but heaven help you if you try and find it not knowing where to look for it. So we're going to reorganize the code, and what we've recently done is come up with a table of contents that has that new organizational structure to put things like topics into a section where they all reside, rather than scattering that idea throughout the code in a number of different places. One specific thing we're going to do, and again responding to state law, is update the county's standard for accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. There's been a lot of activity in Sacramento over the last 2 or 3 years to change the rules for those, basically making it easier to develop them, but also making it harder for agencies like the county to regulate them. So we're going to bring you up to speed with those. And particular to San Benito County, there are a few parts of state law that allow you some flexibility in the way you do ADUs that would make sense in some of the more rural rangeland areas of the county. So we've been talking with staff about that. Accessory structures is something that staff mentioned to us has been historically an issue with the current code, particularly when you get into an agricultural setting where an accessory structure, which in a suburb would be, say, the garden shed behind the house, in an ag setting is now the 10,000 square foot barn, which is 4 times bigger than the house. So we're going to make sure that the code better reflects the kind of particular sort of accessory structure issues that you have in the county. We're going to talk about home-based businesses in some different ways. The county currently has home occupations, you have rural home enterprises. There's also a growing need, especially kind of in the time of COVID, to perhaps allow from some other kind of expansion of commercial uses into non-commercial areas. So we're going to be talking about that. Cellular communications is something that's changing on a regular basis with new technologies rolling out. Staff has told us that they'd like to be able to approve the expansion of cell service into underserved parts of the county, so we're going to look at how we can do that. And then, of course, the development review and approval process. Oh, and I skipped over temporary events. Temporary events, temporary uses is something that we're going to address perhaps a little bit better than is in the current code. And then finally, and this is not a comprehensive list, but just to give you an idea of what we're doing, looking at changing housing definitions to meet recent changes in state law. There are a number of things that the state has said you must say these words in your code. So we're going to say those words in the code. So talking generally about schedule, we started last October. We've been meeting with both your staff and stakeholder groups, which include the cities in the county, variety of private development people, Chamber of Commerce, and so on, about what kinds of issues they've been having with the code, because we always like to find out from people who are using it what works, what doesn't work, what would you change if you have a chance to. We're now here in January with our kickoff presentation to you, the Planning Commission. Over the next couple of months, we're going to be working on preparing a draft zoning code document. We'll bring that back to the Commission to show you what we've done, so you'll have a little bit more to respond to at that point. I apologize, we don't really have a lot to show you tonight, but you will have that in the future. There will be a workshop we're looking at probably June or July to discuss that public review draft zoning code in this forum with the Planning Commission and the public. We'll see how things go, but we hope to be able to do that in person and in a less remote setting at that time. So we'll see how that goes. And then rolling into the end of summer and into the fall, preparing a final draft zoning code. Again, returning back here to the Planning Commission for hearings, making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and then by the end of the year going to the board and having them adopt the updated zoning code. So anybody who's watching who would like to be involved in the process, we do have a web page that is set up on the county's website. So you can go to the basic county website and find that. We'll be updating that page with draft documents as they're available. You can also, I believe, go to the county's webpage and sign up to be notified for future meetings. And that is my presentation for tonight. So let me see if I can get back to, this is where it's really fun because I've never had to run a PowerPoint show from my iPad. So we're going to stop screen sharing, come back to me. So that's my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now.
Thank you for your presentation. Do any commissioners have any comments or questions?
No, no time.
Commissioner Rodriguez or Commissioner Pack?
Just a quick question. So you mentioned updating the code. So I'm assuming that's just going to abide by kind of go in the direction of kind of cleaner energy, going green, SB 375. I'm assuming that's really what is the main push for this.
That's part of it. That's definitely part of it. I think, as I mentioned, a very large part of it is just making the code easier to use. It's very cumbersome right now, and just the way it's organized, it's just not structurally very easy to use. So, but that's one thing that we're going to be looking at is making those kinds of uses easier to do. And that's part of that overall, the idea of streamlining processes, getting rid of processes that really aren't needed anymore. So, yes, definitely.
Along that lines, I understand currently that our 2015 general plan has a total of 17 different zoning types or land use types. You mentioned streamlining. So what is the kind of consideration for how many zoning types there will be, what is going to be streamlined, and possibly what new types of zoning classification might there be?
The only one particularly that we're looking at right now, we're not going to do away with any zoning districts, so we're not going to change the zoning on anybody's property. The general plan does talk about coming up with a winery hospitality combining district, so that is something we're going to be adding to the code. So we're not proposing that, other than that, and Devin, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not going to add any other new zones to the code. It's simply a matter of making the ones that we have a little easier to use. But note, the map itself will not be changing, with the exception that, and pardon me, I get down to the weeds a little bit right now. Right now, your two commercial zones, C1 and C2, are combining zones, which mean they generally they kind of float on top of an underlying zone. So you might have property that is zoned for agriculture, but then it has a commercial overlay on it. And we talked with staff, and we think it makes the most sense to simply make those their own zones. So that is one kind of change that we're proposing in the way the property is zoned. So it may no longer be ag with a C1 overlay. It might be C1.
Through the
It's
chair.
not really effectively a change, but just a different way of designating the property. It just was a little bit unusual to us to see commercial zones as overlays rather than their own zone. Usually you have a C1 zone, and that's what your zoning is. So that's one thing we have talked with staff about.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I have something that might address Commissioner Pack's question as well. As the general plan does speak to us creating a new zoning district that would enable agricultural industrial uses in the agricultural zone, which is another commercial district. So presently, when we have a packing house or nut processing or somebody that, you know, is taking product from the field, putting it in a box in a package and shipping it, we have use permits. We have use permits, but there is talk in the general plan of actually creating an agricultural industrial zoning district. So we may, with Interwest's help here, kind of create some of the mechanics of what that might look like, but at no point are we entertaining putting new paint on the map to change or rezone any individual's property at this point. It's too premature to go there. But the general plan does speak to that.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay.
Oh, oh.
We have Jackie Morris. I'm going to allow you to talk.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners and Mr. Norris. I'm a constituent in District 2 with Commissioner Julio Rodriguez's district. And I am curious because you mentioned about the C1 overlay, where there's commercial overlay on a particularly zoned rural or ag area. And right now we're looking at 14 nodes that were designated in the previous general plan. How will this new change affect those 16 or 14 nodes?
We can't answer questions. We're just here to hear your questions. Thank you.
I guess my concern is how will this affect those nodes going forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Not via Zoom. Anyone in the gallery?
Can you help with the microphone, please?
Is the mic on?
Got it. Valerie Eglin, District 2. As a previous planning commissioner, I would just like to say I wish you a lot of luck working with this. I'm going to be watching it myself, and I think we're in very competent hands. It's exciting to see the demarcation of issues and ways in which it's going to be scheduled to talk to. And so I'm definitely going to cosb.us and getting my notifications. I think it's exciting for the whole county to have these issues revitalized. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So that gets us to the end of the agenda. Will the commission entertain a motion to adjourn?
Got to stay here all night if you don't.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Have a good evening, everybody.